All right. Greetings. Welcome, Grand Rising to everyone. So glad you're here today on this Saturday. I am solo today on behalf of Peak Homecare Associates, located in Noblesville, Indiana. Information is on the bottom. Our founder and CEO of Peak Homecare Associates is not here today. She has a weekend long event, a church event. She's being ordained as a minister tomorrow. So I'm here solo today. Grand rising to my queen Aunt Betty. So glad you're here. And to my queen friend, awesome friend, Lori. So glad you all are here. So we're going to have this conversation today. If you watched the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about hang on a second. We've been talking about the power of your words, right? And we got really deep in the past couple weeks, and it was a great conversation. So this morning I'm a little late because I know Edith was not going to be here, and I could not figure out what to talk about. I wasn't sure if I was going to come on, but we always talk about being consistent, and that's so important. So I said, let me go ahead and do this. And I was sitting here thinking about a topic last night. I know it's Diabetes Awareness Month. It's what is it? Alzheimer's Awareness Month, which seems to be the case a lot of months anymore. A couple of things, couple health-wise things, Men's Health Awareness Month. And so I'm like, maybe I'll just do one of those. And it was just kind of, I don't know. And so for me, this past week, it's been interesting the past few days. My family has had 2 deaths, and it's just been an interesting week to say the least. And I just kind of started thinking about some things, some family dynamics. I started thinking about what's going on in the world. And this is the topic I came up with, is addressing abuse. And so with the conversation, as far as the power of your words, the first thing I thought about was verbal abuse. But I wanted to go a little further with that because there are so many forms of abuse that we don't think about. And in nursing and healthcare, you learn different forms of abuse. And there are things that you typically don't think about on a regular basis. We all know about physical abuse. We all know about SA abuse. You can't say anything tied to sex and then tied to misappropriation. I'll say it like that on these platforms, even though I find it interesting, some of the malice behavior that we see on these platforms. But anyway, that's another story. So we think about those kinds of abuse. Verbal abuse is a big one. And it starts, a lot of times things start with that psychological and mental abuse, right? In nursing, you learn, in healthcare, you learn about financial abuse, okay? Where you're misappropriating someone's funds that you're caring for. You have neglect, which is abuse. Where you are not attentive to someone that you are responsible for, especially in healthcare, but it also applies in relationships. Hence me being a little late. I've been a very busy woman. I'm sure a lot of us are very busy people, men and women. And because of that, sometimes I get a little busy and I tend to neglect my king unintentionally, right? Grand rising to my queen mother, aka Rhonda. I say my queen mother first because that is my mother. I just want you all to know who she is. So Grand Rising Queen Mother, thank you for joining us. As always supportive. So yeah, looking at different types of abuse, you don't think about it. That's what I'm saying. Like with my husband, my king, I'm so busy sometimes that I am not responsible for his well-being, his care, mentally, and his needs, So something to think about. So, Grand Rising Queen Tina, Grand Rising Queen, straight no chaser with the Queen is in the house. Shout out to United Empires of Akibalon. Y'all check us out. So yeah, different types of abuse. I'm gonna drop this link too if anybody wants to have this conversation. I'm gonna drop this link. So I think it's important because today, like I said before, we never on this platform, we never want to get divisive. with politics and religion and gender and, you know, ethnicity and all those things. But this is the way of the world. And I say that because we have to be mindful of our audience, and we are here to promote what the CEO and founder of Peak Home Care Associates has built, and that is home care. But this is the wellness hour, as we said, and it just taps into a lot of different things. So without getting too deep and too controversial, let's look at what's gone on in this past week, this past 2 weeks, this past month, right? We have the election, you know, politics, and it's just been rapid, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you all have felt some kind of abuse from this election catastrophe. You know, not to make it anything outside, not to get off track, but I feel like the whole Diddy debacle tied into some kind of abuse, where whether you know who this individual is or not, it's been streamed all over the place, and we've been subject to hear about this nonsense, you know. And a lot of times, if you just don't walk away from it, you know, you will find yourself in an abusive scenario, right? Being abused, right? So before we keep going, I wanted to read to you all, because y'all know I love to be transparent and very clear, okay? So the definition of abuse: to use something to bad effect or for a bad purpose, misuse. To treat a person or an animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. The improper use of something. Cruel and violent treatment of someone or an animal, okay? So with that being said, what does it look like when we're dealing with abuse? And I think a lot of times we don't realize that we are in a state of abuse, and we really are. And for that reason, it's so hard for a lot of us to get out of these cycles, because, and that's why I brought up the political thing and the Diddy thing and all you know, these celebrities. We're so conditioned to be misused and misled that it's actually become the norm. Can we agree with that? It's become the norm. And so when people are being misused by the masses, for some reason, it's become acceptable. It's become okay. And the response and the behavior to it is docile. It's response to what's happening in the world. And it's very unfortunate. And that's why so many of us have dealt with abuse, are dealing with abuse, cannot heal from abuse, because it's all around us. And when you see situations, especially people in the limelight, and you see the audacity of the foolishness, you know, you wonder if you have a voice. You wonder if your voice matters. Think about, on the healthcare tip, think about elderly, you know, where you had this going on, you had, you know, you've established your life, you know, and now those things are taken away from you. You lose your independence. You're under the care and the guidance and the instruction of someone, whether they have your, you know, your best well-being at heart or not. That is a very scary thing. It's a very scary thing. So back to my husband, my king, and like talking about, you know, the kind of neglect unintentionally, right? It's still abusive behavior, whether it's intentional or not. Okay. My thing is, you know, we've talked about this here recently, and we were talking, I was telling him, you know, I'm busy doing positive things. I'm busy trying to make things rock for us, you know, as we get older. You never know what's going to happen. And it's not even as you get older and get into your senior years. You know, I have patients that are, you know, as young as my oldest children, that are in a situation that have had catastrophes, right? And so my thing is, thank you, Queen Betty, Queen Aunt. My thing is, I'm busy trying to get myself, our well-being in check. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, I understand what long-term care insurance looks like. You know, if I have those kind of things, what happens if this and that, what happened, you know, those are things that are important to me. You all always, Kathy B, got Queen Tina here. We talk about those kind of provisions, growing, buying land, growing your own food, being prepared. Those things are so important, and they're things that we're not thinking about as we're being traumatized and abused in life, right? And so that is such a big thing for me, and that's really why I do a lot of the things I do. It is so important for all of us to be set up for success. At the same time, you got to prioritize what's important, and you have to start with home. If you cannot take care of home and you're wanting to take care of everybody else, the balance is not healthy. The trade-off is not fair, and it's not beneficial for you and yours, right? Can we all agree with that? So we have to learn how to prioritize, and self-abuse is a big thing. A lot of times we allow ourselves to be abused because we abuse ourselves. We neglect ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves. And we got to stop doing that. What good are you to anybody else? My grandmother used to say, if something happened to you tomorrow, the people that you keep sticking your neck out for, they'll be good. They'll keep going, right? They'll do what they do. So something to think about. So like I said, we had the conversation for 2 weeks about the power of your words. And I really wanted to dive in for just a second to verbal abuse, because we talk about different types of abuse, especially physical on different levels. Like I said, I won't go back there. But verbal abuse is so big. The way we allow people to talk to us and the way we talk to one another is super important. I think we are in a state where it is so okay to be disrespectful because we're always feeling disrespected. And sometimes that's just a joke. No one has to love me. No one has to like me, but you will have to respect me. And if you cannot do that, understood, we need to move around, right? Right, Queen? Right. We need to move around if people can't understand that. You cannot demand respect once someone blatantly tells you that they're not going to give that, or they show you that they're not going to give that. But what happens is we get to a point where we feel so disrespected, so misunderstood, so whatever, so unseen, that we turn around and we begin to put off that same energy. So now you've gone from being disrespected to being the disrespector. You've gone from being abused to being the abuser. And we don't look at it like that, because a lot of times when we're abused and misused and neglected, we feel victimized, to where in our victimization, we find justice and turning around and repeating the cycle. Does that make sense? We've got to learn how to set boundaries. And I feel like, I know that it's easier said than done, especially when it comes to physical, any kind of abuse. When we become conditioned to that, it is so hard for some reason to get out of that cycle. It is amazing the excuses that we make when we endure abuse. Well, he's just going through. Well, you don't understand. Well, it's my fault. Well, I should have. All these different things. I've never heard anybody say it, but I've known it to be said, well, I'm just not worth it. We got to get a better hold of who we are, right? I think we dove into this last week, about self. We got to get a better hold of who we are and what we represent and what we'll stand for. Because the saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? So we have to get out of that mindset. And I think before verbal abuse comes, I feel like, I don't know if it's verbal abuse first or mental abuse. I don't know where people get off thinking they can talk to anybody any kind of way without altering their mental status, because I don't know. What do you all think? And I watched I'm going to put this link in the chat. If anybody wants to come up and chat, click the link in the comments. And you guys can come up and chat and give your insight, because I would love the insight. I know I don't like talking to myself, but I like talking with you all. But yeah, what do you think? Let me see something. Yeah, that link is in the chat if anybody wants to come up and have the conversation. But yeah, I look at it, and like the long-term effects of it is so real. So when we talk about generational curses and hang on. I'm tinkering with my phone. So if y'all see me looking around, that's why, because I'm tinkering with my phone, trying to manage everything. So I feel like the long-term effects, we don't think about that. And when we talk about generational cycles, I feel like it's because it's a lot of unhealed effects of abuse, you know, and not wanting to heal, not having the spaces to heal, not knowing how to heal. And I know here in this platform we've talked plenty of times about therapy, counseling, coaching, support, you know, where you can actually make the decision to live a better life. And I think so many times it's uncomfortable for us because we've been so familiar with the abuse, especially when it's from childhood, you know, and for such a long time, you've been accustomed to being mistreated. Then you become an adult and that's all you know, and now you're raising children. And based off of your understanding, it's a repetitive cycle. Does that make any sense? Any thoughts, anybody? I'm looking at these comments. So yeah, if anybody, like I said, if anybody wants to jump up and give some insight, excuse me, please feel free to do so. But yeah, that's what I think. So I think it's time for us to heal from what we're going through. And I don't, like I said, I don't think it's as simple as just saying that. It is a process. Healing is a process, but it always starts with acknowledgement. And it's very difficult to acknowledge and admit and own when you've been abused, misused, and mistreated, especially when it's gone on for such a long period of time. But you have to think to yourself, how long do you want to be treated like this? When do you say enough is enough? And so if I want to go back and forth and tie it into healthcare, you know, what happens if we are, you know, if we're set to be caregivers in any capacity for someone and we are not equipped to do that because we're emotionally broken and unhealed? That's where you see a lot of senior abuse. You know, you might have children and family members taking care of their loved ones, you know, and you think that they wouldn't do, you know, they wouldn't abuse their mom or their dad, you know. I don't think it's always intentional. But when you are obligated, when you feel obligated to care for someone that's mistreated you, abused you, you know, how does that look? How does that work? You know, where's the genuineness in it? Just like with spouses, if you have a spouse that's, you know, mistreated you in any kind of way for years and now you're taking care of them, what kind of care does that look like? You see what I mean by the repetitive cycle and the repetitive abuse? I used to think to myself, you know, especially young men that watch physical abuse between their parents, I wonder how they could grow up and repeat the same behavior. And I thought that for a long time. And that was until I started, you know, repeating some of the things that I've seen over my life, you know, in different situations. And I was that person, you know, and as I look back on it, you know, after some time, I'm like, I am being abusive, even as a female, you know, and that's sad to say, you know, I'm not proud to say that, but that's truth, right? And that is how we heal. When we're honest, when we reflect, okay, when we're accountable, okay, and we do so with integrity. That's how we heal. Thank you, Queen Tina. Thank you. You want to come chat with me? So yeah, and I won't share anybody's story. But we have family members that have done tragic things to other family members, and you wonder what's going on. And a lot of it is unhealed trauma. You know, and we wonder where mental illness comes from. It's a lot of PTSD and traumatization. And you don't think, no one ever says, you know, well, Johnny next door, you know, I wouldn't have never thought that he would have killed his whole family. You know, how many stories? There was a recent story where a young man was seeing a girl, and I guess his father, he was out with the girl. His father wanted him to come home. He was mad. I don't know if you all know this story. Came home, killed his whole family. Excuse me. So sorry, YouTube. Unalived. Excuse me, YouTube. My bad. See, I feel like I'm being bullied by YouTube, not using real words like a real person. Yeah, unalived his whole family. His brother made it out, and that's how they knew it was him. And you think to yourself, people say, well, I never would have thought he'd do that. Never. You had to think, what's going on psychologically? And I'm not saying that he was abused or anything like that, but mentally something was off. Okay. Something was off because people just don't do things like that. People just don't go and do violent things just out of the blue with such rage. There are underlying issues, and we ignore those issues because we don't want to talk about abuse. Like I said, even like psychological, and it doesn't mean that if, like with that young man, doesn't mean that his family did something. Something might have happened at school where he's being bullied, or I don't know. I don't know. But when we don't address things that are going on around us, and we're not realistic with those things, and we are so conditioned to make things okay, there's something wrong with that. Let's talk about, so I talked about financial abuse, right? And talking about with, especially with healthcare workers, okay? Where you can't misappropriate somebody's funds, a senior's funds, somebody you're taking care of. Again, not trying to make this too deep, but who here does not feel abused by this financial system that we're in? We have these arguments about Social Security and Medicare and insurance, and the con of those things. We are all being financially abused. The tax rate, inflation, we're all being financially abused. Are we not? Queen Tina, straight up to the Queen, shout out to her. She just got her clearance on her food truck down in Florida, right? And she's been working hard. And it's taken a lot. People, you all don't know the things that people do behind the scenes. I don't know what you all do behind the scenes, but I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes. She had to go through that, getting all these licenses and all these clearances, paying all this money, some financial abuse. So just trying to make it, right? Just trying to do the right thing, and with her, business owner, awesome entrepreneur, but putting back into the community. And there are so many obstacles in trying to do that. So we have to think about, how we are really being misused as a whole on all sorts of different aspects. And by way of that, it kind of filters down into the family. Okay. How often do you feel disrespected by a boss or someone and go home and verbally take it out on our family members? Yes, disrespect can be contagious. Absolutely. I'm going to have Queen Tina come up and chat with me. I'm so excited. What's going on, Queen?
Grand Rising Queen. I'm on my way to work.
I know you are.
I was listening to you on the way to work. And I'm always going to put it in our perspective for our people. And like you said, I think that as melanated people, with all the, like you said, everything that's been going on, we've accepted abuse and we take it out on each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem with our community, is that we have been abused by everything just through generations.
Mm-hmm.
And we take it out because I think we have a problem, like in Dothan, Alabama, where I'm from. There's so many young men and people unaliving each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's okay. It's like it's become the norm to take lives, and that comes just from a form of abuse, like the music and the images and the mentality. So I think that, like you said, we don't really just look at it as abuse, but a lot of this is just abuse, and we're just normalizing it, and we normalize abusing each other.
We do. We do. That's why I said I hate to bring up politics and things on here on this
Mhm.
platform, but I think about that, like with the Democratic situation, and I'm not, but like people have got. I don't know how anyone didn't feel disrespected and abused by the nonsense. First, I don't know where to even start. Bullying someone into how they believe. And they did it across the board with everybody. They went down the road, the black people, the Jews, the white women, that, they broke it down, and that, I feel like that was psychological abuse. You have
Yes,
people that are put in positions to continue that rat race. And all the
exactly.
while we're not getting ahead.
And the funny thing about it is, I was thinking this morning before I seen your message that you were going live. Um, just I was already thinking. I was like, like you said, not to bring politics on this show, but we as melanated people are
Mhm.
always taught to cry for everybody else's sorrows and stuff, and never look at ours. Never, nobody
Mhm.
ever cries for us. And when we ask for those tears, like, oh, get over it, this and that. And we really had a party that is giving things to other people because they see that they need help. They need it because you need shelter. That is the type of thinking every day you don't got nowhere to live, eat, or make money and survive. And we
Mhm.
sat back and we're arguing with each other of who should be in office, while we clearly see everybody is taking care of everybody except for us. And we have, and then those that's voting, that wanted to vote, not bringing it up, Democrats, those are the ones that just basically took advantage of us. That's
Mhm.
abuse. You brung in a whole bunch of people who never had a history of doing anything for America, while clearly looking over us. And I was like, that's just mental abuse.
It is. It really is. Queen Betty said, charging us for our Social Security is financial abuse, isn't it? Imagine my surprise when
Yes.
I found out they take money off the top every month.
And that's how they have money. And then they were giving it to other people. And then to make us think that we are wrong for wanting like food stamps or assistance, let's say just assistance with food and housing, we be abused and called leeches and this and that, even though our
Mhm.
ancestors helped build this country, and they clearly give it to other people who did nothing. And then most of these people that came in, they were criminals, but we have been abused so much by America that it's okay for everybody to get help, and we will jump on and pick with each other and argue with each other about the help that we need as a people.
Yeah. How about this though? If the argument is who gets assistance or not, why don't you just lower the cost of groceries, period? You see what I'm saying? Why can't we afford healthcare, period, across the board? Why can't we afford
Exactly.
education? Everybody else is
Exactly.
doing it.
And not just that, I look at, let's say, now bring up the Kamala. Even though she said that she's a black woman, okay, you got melanin in you, but if you look at her pictures, her family was in their cultural attire. It's
Hmm.
abuse for all of us here, where we keep arguing about what should be taught, who we are. It's mental abuse every day
Hmm.
to link ourselves to even Africa, all these other places, and we don't know anything about our culture. We don't practice any culture. And then, our so-called black power people will come around and pick at us
Hmm.
for if you celebrate Christmas or whatever. It's like we can't win for losing
Hmm.
our black people here in America. We
Hmm.
can't win for losing. It's just it's like psychological abuse.
I agree. Well, I don't know. What do you think? I think that is like the worst form of abuse is psychological abuse. Like
Yes.
I think I'd rather duke it up with you than you trying to mess with my psyche.
Exactly.
I don't understand. And we allow it.
Our people is a mess. And I just wanted to say that I know I got to go to work because I know you have an interesting topic. And I just wanted to say that because my thing is, I think that, like you said, if they lowered food, not just lowering food and grocery, but for us to be fighting with each other about this election,
Hmm.
and we see that one candidate, we don't know what Trump is going to do, but we know one candidate specifically said they were not doing anything for our people, but we're arguing and fighting and being held accountable for voting for a person. It's
Hmm.
been mental abuse every time, and now we got to go through these next 4 years. And I'm just saying, as our people, we need
Hmm.
more mental health, and we need more conversations like you're having.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you so much. Queen Tina Berry, straight no chaser with the Queen. I'm about to put her link in the description, y'all. She's got to go to work. She be working hard. So y'all support. Definitely support the United Empires of Akibalon. Thank you so much for
We
popping up,
appreciate it. I
Queen.
appreciate you, Angie, for
I
always.
love you so much.
Love you so much.
Likewise. All right, talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so there you have it, y'all. Straight No Chaser with the Queen in the house. Yeah, so we have to look at those things, and again, not making it about politics, but it really is, we don't want to say politics because we don't want to talk about the two parties, but everything is run on a political agenda, from education to healthcare to retirement, everything. So yeah, so I'll say this about that. We have these conversations like Queen Tina just said, but regardless of how you rock, we cannot deny, and I'm not going one way or the other, but we cannot deny that we have a candidate here that just raised $1 billion in about 3 months. Okay. And you have to think about where a lot of that money came from. Too much of that money came from. But now she is $20 million in the hole. Let me tell you why this is important and not about politics. Because we're arguing about someone or two different people that should or should not be somewhere in office. This individual is literally $20 million in debt after raising $1 billion in 3 months. But we still have homeless people. We have homeless vets. Okay, we're talking about American people. We have people that cannot afford childcare. Okay, people that cannot afford the basic necessities. And we're arguing about why somebody won and somebody lost. Somebody lost $20 million in less than 3 months of pulling $1 billion. I'm saying that because all of us are in trouble. All of us are at risk if we don't start acknowledging the abuse that is going on systematically with all of us, regardless of race, religion, gender. All of us, most of us are put into Social Security. Most of us are put into Medicaid. What does it look like when you are in your senior years and you need senior support and you can't get that because the money that you put in to something for security is not there for whatever reason? That's why when we talk about finances, I'm going to turn my screen up for just a second because I'm going to look at something. I don't want y'all to think I'm looking crazy in this thing. When we talk about finance, when I bring that up here, it's because it's important for us to think ahead. We're so busy being entertained in the right now. We want to spend money on the most ridiculous things, but there is no strategy for when something actually really happens, right? There's no game plan on how that works. I will say, I'm looking for Queen Tina's, hang on just a second. Queen Tina's thing. Okay. So I will say, it's now is a perfect time. Hang on, I'm sorry, y'all. To get your affairs in order. Like I said, I have two loved ones that just passed away, this week, unexpected. So what does that look like? What happens when stuff happens? Do you have your affairs in order? Are you able to plan out what you need in life? Let's just keep it real. Okay. We're so busy being psychologically abused in the masses. Turn on the TV, like all the conditioning is ridiculous. Okay. Somehow we've gotten to the point where it's okay to disrespect one another on TV. Like if you watch the commercials, you have a couple that's cleaning the kitchen. Excuse me. Hold on. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. You have a couple that's cleaning the kitchen, right? The husband looks incompetent, like he doesn't know what to do. And the wife is looking like, oh, you dummy, let me show you how to mop this floor, wipe this cabinet up with the brawny towel, and this is conditioning. So now you don't know it, but it's telling us that we're accepting different things, that men have no value, men have no substance in the family, that women are more competent and more able, just different things in our conditioning. We see commercials about medication, and pharmaceuticals. And all of a sudden, you think you done got all these darn healthcare issues because you done watched 20 darn pharmaceutical commercials in a 30-minute TV program. See how we're being conditioned, and now you don't think that you can have the option to look for holistic medications, right? Because the doctor's going to tell you that that's crazy. That's not FDA approved. So you have to go ahead and take this blood pressure medication that we have. Go ahead and take this high cholesterol medication that we have, these anti-anxieties that we have, instead of holistic approaches. That is abuse. It's misuse, right? My husband was at the doctor the other day. He was so frustrated because they wanted to he's on blood pressure medication right now. And he's a nurse also, Marine vet. So shout out to all those that have put their lives on the line. That's all I'll say. On behalf of the greater good of the country. But he was saying he was so frustrated because, why didn't she offer me, he's at the VA, why didn't she offer me a holistic approach? Why didn't she say, why don't you try eating healthier or exercising? And he says, I do all those things, but the fact that she didn't offer that bothered me. It really bothered him because he said it twice. So he was not happy with it. So, and then when when you mention things, it's like, you don't have a say-so in your own well-being. Okay. We need to think about what we're going to accept from here on out and what we're not going to accept, what makes sense to us and what doesn't. And we don't have to continue to go along with the norm if it makes no sense, because the norm anymore is just, it's like opposite day every day. Okay. The things that we are supposed to be accepting, I'm not even going to go there. If you saw my facial expression, I'm not even going to go there. We're being brainwashed to not have a voice, okay, to not speak out, okay, and make excuses and be tolerant for the unnecessary behaviors that are going on across this country, across the world, even in our own lives. I want to encourage you all to speak out if you are being abused. I don't know what that looks like for everyone. I understand it's a safety issue sometimes when it starts to get physical and all those things. But definitely look for options. Okay, start looking at those things and don't wait till something is too late. Okay, when it comes to physical abuse, I'll say watch your children. Okay, watch who's around your children. Even when they're at school and when they're at church, watch what's going on with your children. Be attentive. I don't care how old they are. Okay. Keep your mind right. Okay. Whether you stay prayed up, meditated, whatever, however you want to do it. So really, keep your mind clear. Stay focused. Stay open. Okay. And stay on guard. We have to stop allowing things to get into our atmosphere, to stop letting things affect their energy negatively. Okay. They have to stop accepting anything that comes our way. It's okay to shut off the TV. It's okay to turn off your phone. It's okay to ignore the nonsense. Okay. It's okay to get help when you need help. There is nothing wrong with that. You have to think that people go to therapists or counselors or whatnot, but your counselors and therapists have therapists, and that does not make them weak. It makes common sense. Your pastor has a spiritual leader. Okay. Nobody's doing this alone. Thank you, Queen Mother. I'm sorry. Thank you for that comment. Nobody's doing this alone. Okay. And it's nobody's business, but there's nothing wrong with saying, that I'm going through this, and because I'm going through this, I get help. I go to therapy this many times a week or whatever's happening. It's okay to say that. We have to stop shaming people. We have to stop being ashamed. You can't shame me, okay? Because this is not your life and this is not your walk, okay? Your life is your life, and nobody has to go through it but you. And when the doors are closed, and when the lights are up, and when you're all by yourself, whether you have a gang of people or not, and you're all by yourself, what does that look like? Mental well-being and mental health and mental wellness is the key to our survival. We cannot be so shuffled in our brains and disoriented because we're in overload of foolishness. Okay? Got to take care of yourselves. Got to stay healthy. Got to stay mindful. I'm going to turn this off really quickly because I'm going to share something else. And I don't want y'all to be all in my face. So, yes, definitely think about those things. We're going to get ready to get out of here. I'm going to share something with you guys in just a second. That's why I turned this off. But I want to encourage you. First of all, please go over to my website and check it out. It's in the description. What I will do, though, is I'm going to put this link in here. Hang on. If y'all want to do me a solid, go over to my webpage, check out. Hang on, I'm sorry, y'all. Check out my financial resource link. I'm gonna put it in the chat here. Over there, I have Acorns. If you all are not signed, if you all do not have a plan, like I said, talking about finances and being prepared. If you do not have a savings, checkings, all that, investments, retirement, Acorns does all that. You can bank with Chase and Fifth Third and whoever else you want to, but also set up a checking account with Acorns, as well as a savings. I have an investment account over there. So I've set up a portion of my money to go to investments, and they go all over the place. They go to stocks and bonds and different kind of what's it called? Crypto kind of things. And you can set that up however you want to. More importantly, I am able to grow a decent interest rate on my savings and my checkings. My youngest son, I have him set up for an account where every month or every week, whatever it is, I put money into his account to grow his money. And there's interest on that. My retirement plan is over there. So just in case something happens on one of these jobs, I don't got to be running around with a bunch of 401ks looking to trying to combine and whatever happens with that. I have that with Acorns, right? So my retirement, I also have an emergency fund on Acorns. So all these things are in one spot, okay? For as little as $5 a month investing. The first time when you sign up, Acorns will match you $5 for your investment the first time. There's a lot of learning tools over there on how to retire, how to save your money, where your money should go, all these different learning tools over there. And every time what it does is it adds up your spare change. So if I go to the gas station, I have a habit of doing this because it rounds it up to $5. So every time I go to the gas station, if I put like $30, I'll put 30.01. And so that 99 cents was rounded up and it goes to my Acorns account, right? If I spend, $19.50, the 50 cents is rounded up and it goes to my Acorns account. So you're basically just rounding up spare change when you go to the store instead of giving it to, and I'm sorry, not trying to be cruel, but all those things you want to round up for, the children, hungry children and the Cancer Society and feed that's all fine and dandy, but you don't know where that money is going. You don't know how if it's being abused, misappropriated, or if it's going to the right places. So I advise you to round your change up to your own account. Okay. Start building your finances and your wealth and go from there. Okay. So you all check out that link that I just put in the chat. Okay. Acorns.com. Acorns app. Doesn't take anything, but you run up your spare change to grow your money. So that's a great way. Like I said, retirement, while we're talking about seniors and savings, there's your retirement, okay, where you can invest your 401k, all that good stuff. So check that out. And also check out what I got on my website. Got some, you all know I love doing the positive affirmations and all that stuff. All that stuff's over there. So please go over there. And when you do, subscribe. So that when I go live and do all that stuff, you can know what's going on. I think that is it. I think that's all I have for today. I know we're kind of all over the place, but I wanted to get a lot of things out. I know we started talking about love and hate and the definitions. I said we were going to go into that last week when we talked. So when Queen Edith comes back next week, we'll talk about those kind of things, the definition of love, looking at what that looks like, because there are multiple types of love. And so when we say those things, I love you, yada, yada, we express love. It looks different to different people because there's different types, and a lot of us don't understand that. So we're going to dive into that next week, I believe. And I think that's all I got. Hopefully you all enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully it was helpful. Yeah, that's all I got. Make sure you all also, if you go over to my website, make sure you check out, what else do I have over there? I want to tell you to check out. Hang on just a second. I've got stuff all over my website, you all, and it's Clearest Conscience, Holistic Lifestyle Coaching, but I have all kinds of stuff because I pay for a lot of stuff. So I put all my goodies on one page, on one website that I have to pay for. So you all check that out. I want to tell you where else to go. Look at my promotional ads too and see what's going on. Just go over there and check it out. So make sure you go and subscribe though, for sure. So I can keep up with you all. And until next time, I wish you all peace, love, and blessings. I'm trying to make sure I don't have anything else to share. My king just got back from breakfast. Nope, that's all I have to share. So you all take care. I wish you peace, love, and blessings. Until next time, we'll be here tomorrow or next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, to share some positive things with you all. Like I said, Edith will be back. Make sure you all go over to Peak Homecare Associates and see what's going on over there. And yep, wish you peace, love, and blessings. Take care.